Well, the sharp rise in building costs has led to a crisis in our construction industry. Building companies have gone broke at twice the rate of any other industry in the past 2 years. In turn, that's caused massive delays in the rollout of new housing and infrastructure. John Davies is the Chief Executive of the Australian Constructors Association and joins me now from our Melbourne studio. John, many thanks for your time. I want to start with this because something you say is broken in this industry. Is it capable of being fixed?
Thankfully, Ross, yes, it is. But really what we need here is the country's largest client for infrastructure, that being government, to lead the way here.
So when you say they need to lead the way, what exactly do they need to do?
We need to see contracts let on more equitable terms. And by that, I mean, we need to move away from this historical focus on lowest possible price at the tender box and really just a myopic focus on that above all else, but also an equitable transfer of risk. So rather than just packaging all of the risk and throwing it across the fence and asking contractors to pick that up, we need to take a more reasonable approach to that. Things like material price escalation, as you mentioned, but other things as well, other risks like weather, like resource availability as well.
But isn't the problem here that if I'm building something, I want to know what price it's going to be built for? I don't want an open-ended contract, otherwise my costs are going to blow out and even my ability to pay that builder might very well blow out. And that doesn't matter whether you're government, whether you're private sector or whether you're an individual trying to build something.
Well, that's true, and that's historically how we've always done things. But is that how other industries work? I mean, what we're delivering here are things that take months, if not years, to deliver. And how can you get that crystal ball out? How can you estimate? Is it reasonable to ask someone to take a punt on these things? We see, for example, petrol, oil price. The oil price changes overnight. The servo puts the price of petrol up the next day. You know, do we really complain about that? We get used to that. Why should construction be any different?
I get that, but there's one other aspect of it. If prices fall and therefore things get cheaper, we hardly expect the building or the construction company to come and pass a discount to us, do we?
Well, why not, Ross? I mean, it would be fair if we were to move to a situation whereby there was increased transparency around some of these costs, that if there was a fall, that there would be compensation. I mean, the provisions that we talk about, these provisions exist in contracts already. They're just not used very often. And they're actually called rise and fall provisions for exactly that reason.
So one aspect that your report highlights is you say that technically speaking, around half of all construction companies right now are technically insolvent. Literally, that their debts, if called on right now, could not be paid. That's the sort of alarm, because that's holding up the construction, the building effort here in Australia.
Yeah, it is. I mean, look, this is the measure that we've used is a very broad term. It's like accounting insolvency. It's your liabilities exceed your assets. We're not necessarily saying that 50% of the industry can't actually pay their bills at this point in time, but it's certainly a marker and an indicator that the industry is in extremely poor health. And this is the industry that government is relying on to help fix the housing crisis, to increase our defence capability, to build new energy assets to help us meet our decarbonisation targets, and to build all of the additional infrastructure that's going to be needed for all the increase in population, the skilled migrants that we're going to see coming to the industry, to the country over the next few years.
But what you're saying is it's government that's got to lead the way. Government's got to take the first step, and maybe eventually you'll get contracts that will work for the private sector as well.
That's exactly right. I mean, the industry is a very diverse industry, as we know. It's a very big industry. There's lots and lots and lots of clients out there. There's only one real client of the size that can make an impact here and change behaviours, change how things are done, and that is government.
I'll tell you what, John Davies, good to have you on the program today. Many thanks for your time from the Australian Constructors Association.